that floats around me, keeping me safe and sound. And when I fall, you tied a rope to me. You're blessing me every day. I was down with an illusion, like a sparrow with broken wings. But now I shine with your reflection on me. I'm getting back up on my feet. That you showed up was written in my palm. You are a statement, explode like a bomb. I get to push myself to victory. You make me winner. You cut me loose and set me free. You make me win every way. You showed me how to spread my wings. Yes, I'm the winner of the day. You cut me loose and set me free. You make me win every way. You showed me how to spread my wings. Yes, I'm the winner of the day. Yes, I'm the winner, yeah. 'Cause I'm the winner, yes. Am I awake or am I dreaming? So far gone, I won't look back. And when I move, there ain't no stopping me. You're pushing me up to the top. I saw the clouds looking angry, but then the sky reached my mind. And when I space out, I see the possibilities unfolding the way that I want. That you showed up was written in the palm. You are a statement, explode like a bomb. I get to push myself to victory. You make me winner. You cut me loose and set me free. You cut me loose. You make me win every way. Win every. You show me how to spread my wings. Yes, I'm the winner of the day. You cut me loose and set me free. You make me win every way. You show me how to spread my wings. Yes, I'm the winner of the day. Yes, I'm the winner, yeah. 'Cause I'm the winner, yes.
Oh my God, I am so excited for you guys to be here with me right now live. I feel like it has been forever since I have done a live stream. So if this is your first time here, welcome back and welcome to Outpost Gray, a YouTube channel designed to provide you information in cybersecurity, technology, and innovation. And I'm your host, Jax S. And today we have an amazing guest. I am so excited because goal setting is something that I love to talk about, and not just talk about, but actually apply to my daily life. I believe, and we have all seen it, that successful people are goal driven. But what does that actually mean? Because I have learned throughout my life that if you're not really focused and intentional within your goals, they can get really convoluted. You can get really confused. Your directions can get off. Sometimes you can just get generally misaligned. And so what I've realized is like going through and in my lives and in my failures, I've realized that sometimes it's okay to take those goals and just trash them and just start over. So the individual that we're going to have on the show today, I'm so excited because he has a wealth of knowledge. Simon Linstead brings not only his many years of professional and personal experience of life, but he is a self-made multimillionaire. He has gone from extreme heights to extreme lows. And today he's serving in the cybersecurity community. He's been in this community for less than a year and he's already making huge waves. And the only way that he would be able to actually do that is through not only determination and focus, and that's just one small thing, but it's his goals. It's how he goes after his dreams and his focus in it. So we're going to be digging into that today. Before we bring the guest on the show today, before we bring Simon on the show, if you guys have any questions, make sure to drop them into the chat. We will be fielding questions. I want this to be a really interactive engagement today. And I want you guys, because tomorrow is New Year's Eve. So I want you to have a lot of takeaways. So when you roll into 2022, you roll in stronger and with just a clear guidance on your goals in the direction that you want to go for 2022. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's bring Simon out. Hello, hello. How are you? Welcome. Welcome to Outpost Gray. So excited to have you.
Hey, Jax. Great to be here. And thank you so much for the very, very kind introduction. Very humbling.
This is exciting. Absolutely. No, you have an amazing story. We have talked, actually, we connected right before I went to Costa Rica. So a few weeks ago, and you shared in depth your personal journey of your life and where you're at today. And we won't deep dive into that because we were offline talking about it, although I find it very fascinating. And I'm going to have to bring you back just to share that portion of your life. But what I would love for you to do is take just a few minutes to share where you've come from, how you were a self-made multimillionaire to where you're at today, just so the viewers can learn a little bit about who you are. Who is Simon?
I'd love to. Thank you, Jax. And for those I see in the chat already who I know, you'll be pleased to know that it isn't going to be the 15-minute drawn-out life event version that you've all heard already. So I will try and keep it as brief as possible. As Jax rightly said, I've only been in the industry actually for 9 months, and I came in as the head of global sales for a penetration testing company here in the UK, and ended up 6 months ago founding a community that's helping to support people in their journey into cyber. However, I'm also 47 years old and the father of 6 amazing children. I'll just drop that in there. And we live in a very remote and beautiful farmhouse in the UK. 4 years ago, I was a multi-millionaire investment business owner who went from being extremely wealthy and successful, very much in the public view in the local area as well, to crashing completely, not only going bankrupt, but nearly losing my life, losing my family, and having to reevaluate effectively my whole life in 2019. And I won't go through the story in detail, but I was adopted as a youngster, very privileged to be sent to private school until I was 14. I also competed at a national level for swimming and for kickboxing. So sport and competitiveness has always been important. But my parents split up when I was a teenager. I went off the rails a little bit, as some of us do, and ended up leaving the very posh private school, ending up at the local state comprehensive. And between us all here today, didn't go terribly well, which led me to leaving school with a fair education but no exams, thrust me into sales, and I'll skim through the next bit, but I've sold mobile phones in the early 90s to booze cruises on mock pirate galleons in Tenerife for 3 years, to regulated professional sales in financial services, which I ended up having my own business in, which I founded in 2009. I stumbled into the industry with no interest in financial services. I came back from nearly 4 years in the Canary Islands, living an extremely interesting and enjoyable lifestyle with a pregnant girl who I hardly knew, needing to find a job, and ended up in a call center, booking appointments for financial advisors. And it was hellish, if I'm honest. It was easy for me to hit the targets, but the job was mind-numbing. One day the financial advisors came in and I thought, I can do that. And that was kind of the first goal I'd ever set myself. And it was the first mistake I'd ever set when making goals as well, which is chasing the money, not anything else. And my career in financial services went really, really well, provided me with a very good lifestyle until I set the business up, but it never interested me. And the only thing I've ever been good at really is people, relationship management. And for any other business owners out there, you'll know that once you've got 40 staff, relationship management takes on a whole new thing. It's no longer developing relationships with new customers. It's dealing with staff problems. It's dealing with compliance issues, especially in a regulated world. And I completely lost direction and focus. And after a divorce, a remarriage with a fairy tale wedding, I overstretched, bought another company, and without boring you with details, started drinking too much, and my life just went bang in the space of 2 years. So I went from multi-millionaire to living in a caravan, separated from my family. I'm part titanium from coming off a motorbike at over 100 miles an hour. But mostly it was a period of working out who I am, why I'd self-destructed, why I'd behaved the way I did. You've probably noticed already I've got ADHD. Well, I hadn't for 45 years, but it's a great leveler when you're in a caravan on your own. You soon start to notice things about yourself that you hadn't noticed before, when you'd spent your life rushing around, ignoring everything and blocking things out, which effectively I've done. And for me, it drove me to do two things. One, evaluate what I was going to do at 45 for the next 20 years to try and support my family, because whilst I'd split up with my wife, I still had contact with the children. She was in the farmhouse we're in now with them, and she supported me, albeit remotely, all the way through this. And for 7 or 8 months, it was me getting well and getting clean and learning who I was. And reading became a big thing for me, as it always has been. I've always been a voracious reader, and I read a lot on psychology, on religion, on Buddhism, on lots of different things. I suppose self-help books, if you can call Psycho-Cybernetics, which was written in the 60s, I think probably the first ever self-help book. That definitely helped me refocus the idea of success. And for me, it was a crossroads, and I had to make a decision. One thing I knew was that I didn't want staff, and I didn't want the stress of having that business again. I also knew that 100 grand cars, speedboats, whilst they're lovely, they didn't make me happy. And the most important thing, success is mindset, not a destination. And it's not an SQ7 or a Lamborghini. It's being happy in yourself. And I hadn't realized I already got the success I'd been chasing, which is a loving family and, children who think the world of me. And that led me to make a decision. I was either going to be a painter and decorator. This is late 2019, because I thought I can get a van, potter around, paint people's lounge, lovely, go home, not worry about it. Or I was going to do something I actually enjoyed. And the only constant, I'm not going to say passion, but the only constant I've had throughout my life that I've loved is tech. And it goes back to my ZX81 I got for my, I think, 9th birthday, through to me selling mobile phones when they were first released in the early 90s, to trying to break every piece of tech throughout my life. And I'd never been on social media at this point either, Jax. So Google Foo became my friend. And I stumbled across the cybersecurity industry and did a bit of research and saw two things. One, red teaming looked really exciting. And I thought, I can do that. And secondly, from a business mindset, it looked like it was going to be the biggest industry moving forward from a growth perspective. Excuse me. So I spoke to my wife, and I made the decision, instead of buying a van and being a painter and decorator, I was going to follow the route to penetration testing on Cybrary, which I did. And I did CompTIA plus 2 modules first. And I then got distracted by a gamification platform. I'm not going to mention the name, where I loved it so much. I spent all my days doing it. And I ended up still not being on social media at this point, I'd put a resume together and I'd sent out a few job specs. This is now June 2020. And I, a bit deluded. I wanted to be a junior pen tester. So got an interview with F-Secure. The guy was lovely. First 15 minutes were amazing. Then we got on to the technical part. And obviously I fell to pieces because despite, always using tech and being the go-to at work for IT help, really, I had no fundamental knowledge of it at all. And I said to him, what do I need to do to get the job as a junior tester? He said, go and get OSCP. So again, with no outside contact, only using CyberArray, it wasted money I didn't have, or the family didn't have, on an OSCP course with lab time, and failed the exam in September. Did get a couple of boxes, but it was only because I'd learned processes. It wasn't because I understood anything of what I've done. And that for me as a competitive person was a bit of a kick in the teeth, but it also made me realize that I found it fascinating. I loved the time I'd spent on Wireshark and Nmap. It absolutely fascinated me, and I wanted to continue that learning. So we'd also set up a business for my wife at the time. That had gone really well. It was a virtual assistant business doing marketing and promo work. So she said to me, why don't you do a degree for 6 years, potter around the garden, because I'm that age now where I potter around the garden, and learn about something you find enjoyable. So I did, and I booked on a degree, bachelor's degree in cyber here in the UK, the Open University. And I was helping her through the back end of last year market the business online. So she had a Facebook account. I still wasn't on social media. So effectively, I suppose I was social engineering in as much I was pretending to be my younger, more beautiful wife to try and get video promo work. And I ended up introducing myself to a pen tester in the UK who was looking for help with his sales. And that's how I ended up breaking into the industry. And I think going back to what the whole topic is about today, the goal setting, for me, it's working out what the real idea of success and the goal is before you even start about career choices. But I'll throw it back to you and be quiet because I'm very good at running on.
Oh, you're not going to be quiet. This is all about you, Simon. So I'm just here to facilitate and keep the conversation on track.
Keep it clean.
I want to, and with you, I'm going to have to like wrangle a couple of times, but so that was outstanding. I love that. That gave, I think, all of the viewers a very good, like, high level of kind of where you've come from to where you're at. But I want to take like a few steps back because there were some things that you were saying that I think are really critical for the individuals to understand that are key within goal setting and their hurdles. One of the things that you talked about was money was your goal. Now, I want everybody to know that's not a bad thing, but you need other things aligned. And that was when you talked about, like, you talked about drinking was one of the things. And before we hit record, we were talking about these critical factors that you have to have in your life when you're going after a goal. I know them as the 5 F's. They're like, I looked them up. They're faith, family, finance, fitness, friends, fun, future. I know you have your little diagram that we talked about.
It's the same concept though, isn't it?
Exact same concept, right? So you need all of these things in balance, and it's like a pinwheel. And if they're not in balance, they're going to be off. So if your goal is money and it's finance, specifically like money, and it's, I want to be a multimillionaire, but you have your faith, your fun, your friends, your family, all those other factors.
You've also got to want to know, why do you want to be a millionaire? That's the question, isn't it? Is it because you see it on TV every day and we're blinded by YouTube channels of success?
Exactly.
That's the question, isn't it?
And that was, and correct me if I'm wrong, that was what your goal was for money. Your goal was very much, I want to have that car, I want to have that woman, I want to have that
all of that. And you need to understand the psychology of that, and I didn't. I think I kind of do now a little bit, but it was about my own. There's lots of harsh words I could use for it here, but my own insecurities. And you can't blame it on the history and the adoption or whatever you've been through in your childhood. But what you do need to do is understand why you react in certain ways to certain situations. And the biggest driver for my focus on money was, whilst I was privately educated, I was the poor kid at private school. Mm-hmm. And for anyone else who's experienced that, it's a little bit like being the rich kid at poor school, but the other way round, where you spend your whole life feeling inadequate to your peers around you because they're all, their parents are lords and ladies and live in stately homes, and we lived in a little 3-bedroom bungalow, you know, and it was that, I suppose, the drive for my competitive side, the sport as well, was that drive to prove myself to whoever it was I was trying to prove myself to. And that's why my goals were off kilter. And you said it before about the balance, and there is that balance, that pinwheel, and you have to think about all of those things when you're setting the goal, because people, you ask people, they say, I want to be in cybersecurity. I mean, one, that's quite general. You need to be a bit more specific. But what's the driver for that? Because if the driver for that is because I see CISOs earn like hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, you're never going to make it. And if you do make it, you're going to be miserable because it isn't enough of a driver. You know, you need to think about what success means to you. And if it means money, why does it mean money? Does it mean money so that you can take your family on holiday 4 times a year? Think it through. You know, think about what success feels like. Start to visualize it, because you'll be surprised that maybe money isn't around every single aspect of that. But again, it's easy to say money isn't everything, especially when you're poor. Money is everything. It is everything, because you have to survive. But there is that balance that you have to strike. And it's the health balance, the partner balance as well. You can't even just bunch that into the family, because, you know, I'm a father of 6, and you can't just say family balance, because then you've got the balance between yourself and all the children, and yourself and your partner. And you've then got to balance that with your life goals and the work goals. And I suppose I'm not helping people by making it sound complicated. But the other thing is, you have to constantly review it as well, because we change as people as we get older. And I'm certainly not the same as I was now, as when I was 21 years old and surfing in Tenerife. You know, as much as I miss it, I'm not that person anymore. And my goals are completely different now. My goals are to be able to work in a job that I enjoy. And what I enjoy is talking to people, and be able to then spend time with my family in a comfortable manner, which probably involves a beach and jet skis at some point.
Yeah, and goals
for the money.
My beach and jet ski would be amazing. I just got back from Costa Rica, and it was a great time. And a lot of people have goals like that. Like, they have material goals. They have goals you can write down. Yours seem like you want goals that are part of your environment, like have a good work environment, work around people that you enjoy to be around. That's kind of where I'm at in my life too. I think it's also placated because we're business owners, we're entrepreneurs. We create the environment that we want to be in. Unlike, there are some individuals on here that are not business owners and entrepreneurs, and that's okay. And they may never be, and that's perfect for them. And their environment, they may not worry as much about their environment per se as wanting the jet skis. So question for you, because everybody has how they set goals is very different. I know I'm very meticulous. I like to write my goals. I'm actually just now using a new platform to create my goals and create my objectives for 2022. I spent hours doing it yesterday. For you, I see you have a whiteboard, but it's blank. Is there a place, like, how do you do your goals? Do you write them down? Do you take like a select day during the year, like 4 times during the year, that you sit down and you determine, here are my current goals. This is what I want to do. So explain, what is your process? Because you've been extremely successful, so you couldn't have just thrown stuff on the wall. How have you?
Do you know the only reason I've been successful this year is because I didn't have a long-term plan other than what we talked about a moment ago, which is that idea of success. So whilst I haven't been financially rich this year, I've been rich in lots of other ways. So I've helped lots of other people, which in itself, there's no such thing as altruism. If you help other people, it makes you feel fantastic. Same as it does if you buy someone a gift. So there's that. I've got to work from home. I've got to spend time with my family. You know, I've had an amazing year. And for me, you can't set long-term goals in this industry either at the moment, because what might be a good idea this week, in 6 months' time, you've lost the momentum with it. And there's never been more of a case than the need to adapt quickly than there is in the cybersecurity industry right now. And all I've done is listened. So put things out there, get feedback, research the market, listen, react. And so how often do I review my goals? The honest answer is every morning. Because every morning I'll write through a list of what I need to get done. So the jobs that have got to get done that I've kind of committed to. And then at the end of the list, I then think about all the things I'm doing and whether they relate to the goals that I've set myself, which is spending time with the family and having all these things. And it's then really easy to start whittling down the things that you're spending your time on. It gets hard though, because if I was to draw that wheel for you now on where my life is, it would not be balanced at all.
And that's a great point to actually bring up. I want to clarify. So your will is not going, and I shared the will, the seven F's will. Your will is never going to be 100%.
No.
It's always going to be disheveled in some way. But as long as your will can like roll, it's okay. It can make, but if it's not able to roll in some fashion, if it's maybe you're disconnected from your friends, for you as your family, maybe it's fitness, health, whatever that looks like.
Well, there's a great one which you wouldn't think would relate to a cybersecurity goal, but it does. You know, I've spent the last 2 years getting my mind back. I'm still physically broken though. You know, I used to be super fit. I'm now not, and I've got limitations through having like a smashed shoulder and bits of titanium. But there's no reason why I'm not out there every day running again and starting to get my fitness back. So my blocker at the moment and my kind of puncture in my wheel is the fact that that's the bit I've got missing. And again, I'm really good at telling people how to do it, but it's do as I say, not as I do, isn't it? I can't seem to get the motivation to get myself out there running, but it is miserable and raining. So that's my excuse.
Something that Gerald just posted, and I need to start sharing these in here too. He said this one right here. I love this. Did some goal setting though, but the second part of it, accomplish goals, is to make them public and force external accountability. I love the last word, accountability, and I'm so glad he said that, and because that's critical. It sounds like your wife is your accountability partner.
My family, my children are my accountability. You know, it's all for them. I put my family through hell for 2 years. You know, whilst they might have been the children who had everything, gift and financially wise, for 2 years of my life, I was an absent father, and that for me is something that I will always regret. It's also something I can't change, but it's something I can change now moving forward. So for me, the focus has got to be making sure they're happy. And this year we I know we did, because I'm not actually working per se at the moment. We spent less on Christmas presents for our 6 children than we ever have. And we probably had the nicest Christmas as well. So again, it's about those expectations. And this is the first year I've enjoyed Christmas, ironically. I've hated Christmas my whole life. I suppose it's that running away from the family thing that I didn't realize I really needed. But so this year was nice, but there wasn't tons of new Xboxes and shiny stuff around the house, but everyone had a nice time.
We have a question. I want to definitely fill it so I don't miss it, because we've got a lot of activity in the chat, which is awesome. Thank you for everybody for showing up. This is great. So Gerald wanted to ask you, how do you set the right level of goal, i.e. getting certs versus getting a book or signing up for an exam, studying, taking exam? How, for you, what does that look like? I know for me, it's definitely different. It's really dictated for me. It's dictated on my 2 to 3 year goal. Dictates the right level of where I want to be. For me, I'm not taking certs. But I'm in grad school. So trying to get a certification right now would be unrealistic for everything else that I'm doing.
Well, let's stop talking about me for a moment, because I feel like that's all I've done for the last 25 minutes.
No, this is all about you, Simon.
Let's talk about the goal setting process, because it relates to what Gerald is saying. And as they say, the old ones are the best. And I would say that at 47, but there's nothing better than the SMART acronym for business planning. And that, in my opinion, is how you then work through and work out which ones you should be doing when. So before, as I said at the start, before you even get onto the SMART planning, you need to think about what the end goal is and what success means to you, and then work it back from there. So if success means to you, I don't know, let's use an experienced person in the cybersecurity industry whose main goal is to perhaps maintain the level of income, but have more free time for their family. So their goal would be different than someone who wanted to take the step up and be a VCSO, for example. And once we've identified the goal, we can then work it back. So the S of the SMART is it's got to be specific. So going back to the whole, I want to break into cybersecurity, that isn't a SMART goal, and it never will be, because you need to break down, well, what do you mean by that? There's 53, 55 jobs in cybersecurity. There's compliance, red team, blue team, white team, purple team, all these different jobs. So again, you need to step back and do the research first and work out what it is you want to achieve. And then it's back to research again to see what steps you need to take to do that. So going back to Gerald's question, you then need to be able to measure those, which is the M. So you're looking to be able to measure each step, and we need a pat on the back as well, because goals aren't a quick process, as aren't habits. You know, habits, good or bad, take time to form, and goals take time to achieve. And it's important that we recognize our own achievements throughout that kind of goal process. And if you haven't got those small milestones written down that are measurable to get you to the end goal, that's why people give up. So it's like the old weight loss, isn't it? Every year in January, I'm going to lose weight, generic quote, you know. But people who are specific and work it out, they achieve it. And then the next one, the A, what's the A for? I'm going to have to read. It's achievable, because I've got it written down under my arm in case I forget. You know, is it realistic? You know, mine wasn't, let's be honest. So my goal that I didn't do any planning for, other than going on Cyber and decided I wanted to be like a James Bond red teamer, I didn't really understand what I needed to do to achieve that. It isn't just about getting the CompTIA trifecta and a couple more exams. It's about having not only the experience I've got from the kind of social engineering or social manipulation side that you get from sales, is having the understanding of the technical part as well, that you can't get on a course for 3 months. And again, if you want to break into cybersecurity and you've got no industry experience, it doesn't mean you can't, but maybe set your sights on a job that's more relative to your skills in cybersecurity, so you can get your foot in the door whilst you then upskill and learn more to get to the job you want. So again, it's about being realistic with the goals. And if after looking through it, you're not realistic, then you need to take a step back and let reality grab hold of you and work out what is. And the last one is, it's got to be time bound. You know, if it's not time bound, how do you know when you're going to achieve anything? So back to those small steps. So Gerald, kind of answering your question, I think if you apply that methodology to it, it will answer itself if you keep working through it. But back to the point again on how often do you do it? It's like I heard on your stream, Gerald, earlier today. Can't remember which organization it was that were going to make it 2 yearly kind of snapshots of a security environment. Well, again, that's not enough, is it? We all know that. And it's the same with the business. It's the same with the business plan. A snapshot every 6 months does you no good whatsoever. You need to do a snapshot every day or every week.
I like that. That's a really good one regarding realistic. What about arguing of setting unrealistic goals? So when you underachieve, you actually exceeded the realistic goal.
Completely agree. But it's back to mindset, isn't it? This is all about mindset, because without the right mindset, you're not going to achieve any of it. And someone with a very low or a not a very positive mindset will find it very difficult to set an unachievable goal in the first place. And I'd also say that someone with a positive mindset, ask me what my goals are for next year, and my goals are to create the world's biggest and most engaged cybersecurity community. And that's a massive ask, but you know what? It's achievable. I've just got to get more strategic relationships and partnerships with amazing people like you and Gerald and all the other amazing people I haven't got, long enough to list here. That's what it's all about. It's surrounding yourself with the right people.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. If the saying is, you are the influence and the impact of the 5 people that you most engage with on a daily basis, the 5 people. So
I'll use my nan's analogy was lay down with dogs and you get fleas. And I've been there and been bitten, so I know exactly how that works. And equally, being around the successful people I have been the last 9 months is the only reason I've seen any measure of success.
There was a book I just recently read, and one of the things, and I've heard this before, but I really like how he said it. He said, it's not what you do in life, but it's who you do it with. And being in business and working with certain business partners that I enjoyed working with versus just dreaded getting their phone calls, I will say, I'm at a point in my life that, and he said in the book, he said, if it's somebody that you would not want to work with for 5 minutes, then don't work with them for 5 seconds. Just get them out of your circle, out of your life. And this is all of these factors, all of these things are so critical, because you think about goals and people think it's just writing something on a piece of paper, which is to get out of debt in 2 years. But it's so much more than that. There's so many other factors, and we keep going back to this, but it's mindset. It's very much understanding mindset on top of everything else. Like there's a layered factor to everything. And for you, I mean, you went through a really big transitional change in your life recently, within the last like couple of years. Did you notice, like, you were when you were living in the van and you had that major quiet time in your life, was there a time where it just, you knew like this is time for
If I
self-reflection?
tell you this story, you're going to think I'm crazy, but I will. Okay,
Oh,
so
please, I want this. Yeah.
don't judge me, people. I want to make a caveat that I am not a religious person in any way, nor do I have any kind of conspiracy theories. However, I went from being a wreck of a man to reading a lot, and I touched on the fact earlier I'd read a lot on Buddhism, and I'd also read a lot on psychology. And the Buddhism thing for me really hit home, in as much that you reap what you sow, and it kind of made me do a lot of inner reflection, and it also made me change my behaviors, and not just my thoughts, but little things like I was feeding the birds outside in the garden. I was making gestures of things where I'd normally squash a spider, I didn't. And I just changed, I suppose I just changed my mindset on what I believed was important and how I saw myself in the world, because our world is so fast paced. For 45 years, I didn't sit down for 2 minutes to look around me. I spent 45 years blocking out everything that was around me by whatever means necessary. And when I had that opportunity to sit down and appreciate not only the beauty of nature, but the kind of connectedness of everything, it really started to make me think. And I then read a book by Max Maltz, which was written in the 60s, and it is really dated, but it's the precursor to any kind of self-help book. And it talks about, it basically, I read it off the back of reading about Buddhism, and it relates karma to a biomechanical goal setting mechanism, which worked for me. And it said that, think of your brain, because especially as I was learning CompTIA Plus and I was learning about peripherals and different types of devices, it said, think about your brain as a computer, where what you're seeing every day is the keyboard, the screen, the mouse. It's kind of your input, but your subconscious is your processor and the thing that does all the work. So whatever you're programming in at the front, so whatever thoughts you've got going through your brain, you create the outcome through your subconscious mind. And whilst that sounds really far-fetched, let me tell you the story that did it for me. So I'd moved back in with my wife and children. It was a good week. We've got sort of 1/4 of an acre of land in the middle of the countryside here, a plethora of wildlife and birds. So I was making up bird feeders and doing all this stuff in the garden. I was also on Upwork, winning contracts for her for video promos, which we had a lot of success with. And one day a job came up. We didn't have a lot of money at the time, and it was for wildlife footage. And basically I applied for the job, and it was for a YouTube channel. I can't mention the name, but it was for cats, and they wanted wildlife footage of birds. And cut a long story short, we ended up earning a few $100s every week for putting our iPhone outside and recording nature. So putting it into context, I just spent 9 months recovering, learned about Buddhism, learned about karma and giving back. Maybe that'll help people realize why I've spent the last 9 months trying to help other people, because there's clearly something in it, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. Once you give back and you start getting into that mode of giving back, you start realizing that your entire external life of what you see, it just starts shifting and changing. And so I always tell people, if you're not happy, start serving. Start serving out in your community, start serving your friends, start mentoring people, whatever that looks like for you. Start giving back, and things are going to start shifting.
And
I want
also,
to,
even if you're really early on your journey in cybersecurity, I've been only started studying last year, and I've been in the industry 9 months, but I've still managed to help loads of other people with their journeys in. And it's not because of my cybersecurity knowledge, but it's about the experience you can bring from those previous careers to cybersecurity. And I know that's not what we're talking about today, but it's definitely an area that firms should be considering more when bringing talent in.
yeah, absolutely. I'm going to pop this question up here that Kimberly had really fast. I have to take a pause and say thanks to Kimberly. If you guys don't know Kimberly McKnight, you need to go check her out. Check out cybersecuritycentral.org. She did all of everything you see in the background. She did that. So thank you, Kimberly. So happy you're here. How often do you revisit to refine your goals? I know for me, I do it all the time. It's enduring, like all the time. Yeah.
That's a really relevant question. I think I touched on earlier that I'll review things weekly, but you've then got to think about the other favorite word of mine, which is disruption. And before I move on to the fact that disruption is needed in the cybersecurity industry, I'll kind of go on about what I mean by that. And I ended up setting up the community a few months ago with no idea of having it as a business, but just as a means to try and help people. But it ended up consuming all of my time because I was loving it so much that it's turned into something that I'm going to have to monetize, because effectively it's become my full-time job, but I'm not earning any money out of it. And I was approached a few weeks ago by a fairly big company who were putting together a deal for me to bring my community into another one and basically create something really special. So I got really excited over the last 4 weeks. I can't go into who or what for obvious reasons, but when the deal was put down on paper, which was 4 days ago, it wasn't any good for me and it wasn't any good for the community. So I'm in the process of redrawing up all my goals right now, and had to take the last couple of days to step back and review where I was with the community before, because it's now made me even more determined that, one, we're onto something, because if people are trying to remove you out of the market, there's a reason for it. And two, there's a gap as well, and people need clarity in this industry. There's a plethora of choice, and there is no need for any more content with regards to, gamified training platforms or anything like that, because there's a masses of amazing content out there, but there's not enough clarity around which is good and which isn't. And that's where people are stumbling and falling down at the moment. And I really think there's a place for that independent kind of peer-reviewed process that people can then use to relate to their career choices in cyber. Because again, I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all solution to this industry where you can say, do my boot camp and you're ready to get a job. That boot camp might work for John over there, who's got certain experience, but for Julia over here, it's, potentially a waste of money. So again, it's back to that guidance, isn't it? And mentorship. But there's loads of them as well. Which coach do you use? Which mentor do you use? And again, if we could get a peer-reviewed panel together from all of us in the industry to start grading perhaps how good they are, then perhaps, there is a place for that, and there's a place for everyone to be involved in that as well. Sorry, getting distracted by Keith's comment. Keith, I am really lucky where I live, and it is beautiful. And I randomly keep posting pictures in the community, which is how you know that. So thank you.
I want to ask you on your goals. We talked about this briefly before hitting record, but how do you feel about, you've got a goal, you've been working on it for 3 to 5 years, you have a business goal, you founded a company, you're driving forward, but it's not picking up steam. When do you know it's time to take that goal and really just like crumple it up and like
when you wake up in the morning and the first thing you think about is stressing you out and you're dreading the day, don't let it go past that first day that happens, is my honest advice. I spiraled from being, I suppose, what everyone would have looked up to and wanted to be, the flash man around town with all the money and the beautiful young wife and the sports cars, and inside I was a mess. And every morning I was waking up worrying about my 40 staff getting paid, because I'd taken a massive gamble on buying a business for a few million quid I didn't have, and making stupid decisions that I then, going back to that mindset, my mindset then became one of self-destruction without me knowing it. And I can sure achieve my goals, whatever they are. I've achieved massive success, but boy, did I achieve that failure. And that's down to how important mindset is, because every day I was self-destructing. So my brain facilitated that. And, I made a real mess of it. So I think it's all about mindset. And for me, it's all about mindfulness as well. And making sure you take the time every day to think about, well, firstly, what your thoughts are. Are they helping? Are they negative? Why are you thinking them? Are they helping your goals? So for me, it's fluid. And for anyone else who's got ADHD, they'll know that the whole mindfulness thing is a constant for us, in that our brains whirl around at whatever speed we have to do it. And I think knowing that helps as well. Whilst I don't pharmaceutically medicate for my ADHD, and I've never been to the doctors either to have it diagnosed, I do behave in certain ways and meditate when I can, because I'm aware of it.
Yeah. And for me, it was getting off of coffee, and now I just drink tea, and I've been that way for the last actually couple of months. It helps my ADHD. I want to pivot back to something that Jessica Bishop posted earlier. I want to touch on this because I think both of us, we've definitely had these experiences. I actually had one recently this year, and some people in the chat know about my experience. And I think this is a really good point, Jess. And I like that you brought this up because through negative experiences or failures, let's just call them that sometimes can be a great time for you to really narrow your goals and really redefine. And I feel like that's kind of what happened to you too, is you went through this really bad experience in your life and it has really shifted you and made you narrow your goals of where you want to be and focus on why you want to be there, more of your why than anything.
I could put it in a different way, Jess, is that you end up not suffering fools, don't you? And you soon become aware as well. This industry is full of lots of amazing people who help people, but it's also full of a lot of people who pretend to be like that. And sometimes learning the hard way is the only way. And Jax and I have discussed this before, but I've learned more from my failures than I have anything I've ever achieved. And like I said, I've swum for my country when I was younger. I've kickboxed at a high level. I've gone from kind of a run-of-the-mill call center job to a nearly $250 million under management and a multi-million turnover company. But none of that taught me anything. But what taught me everything was being in that caravan and going from having a 90 grand car to a bicycle overnight. Much cheaper on fuel.
And you probably had really great quads. So, you know.
Well, no. Yeah, back to the still physically broken part. I was meaning to say, actually, I'm looking for an exchange of services on that. If we've got any personal trainers in the audience who want to swap some sales strategy for some PT sessions, I'm in.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love that. There is an individual that does fitness in the cybersecurity space. Does anybody, if you guys remember his name, drop it in the chat. He's in my feed. I message him. The name is missing me right now. I love this comment up here. I wanted to touch on this. Keith Job, I love long-term goals have long-term mentors. I think this is critical to just touch on and talk about a little bit because it goes back to your circle of influence. And for me, I have not only just friends, but I also have mentors that are in that close circle because there's individuals even in this chat that I reach out to when I'm doing a tweak to my like YouTube or my goal, and I ask them their thoughts around it. And I would think that you would probably do the same thing outside of your wife. Like you have mentors that kind of move with your goals and where you're at in your life.
I've been really lucky with the people that I've met, and there's a few in the chat. I can't see the whole chat, but the two I can see. I think Josh was in there earlier, and Josh was probably the third person I spoke to after getting a job in cybersecurity and thinking about building up the community. And he gave me the inspiration to do it. If I'm honest, it was kind of his, if you think it's a good idea, do it. And then I think it was the tweet from him, the post on LinkedIn from him then maybe 6 weeks later, which basically was put up or shut up. I think, go on, show us what you can do, which to me is the best motivator I can get, and that for me makes me want to achieve. And Paul Rogers is another one. Paul's there for me every day. Paul's not only got technical knowledge, but he's one of the most grounded, unself-serving people I've ever met. He'll give up his time for me constantly, and as much of a therapy as anything else. And another one, Stuart, I see you in there, TechSec Scott, someone else I've known from the early days of my journey who, again, whilst we don't speak every day, they're always kind of there, aren't they, when you need them. And that's how you learn who to trust and who to be around. I've made some enemies in this industry too, and I made them early, very quickly, because I called them out very quickly. And old arrogant white men hate being called out, by the way. I found out. I'm happy to carry on doing it because it's back to that disruption comment I made earlier.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about the importance of disruption and innovation in any industry just really quickly, because I heard an analogy the other day, which was actually Blockbuster's video and how big they were in the kind of media video space at one point. And, along came the disruption of being able to stream films at home, and Netflix flew in. And now look where we are. But you can liken that to the cybersecurity industry, because at the moment you've got all the big players still coming out with the same, excuse my French, bullshit to firms about their solutions that tick all the boxes and solve all the problems. And you've also got the same thing in the training space, where you've got training providers saying our courses are the ones that are going to get you the job in cyber. Well, someone needs to stand up and call them out. And I think having that disruptive influence of an independent peer-reviewed panel could be what does that. So anyone who thinks I'm talking about them, by the way, right now, I probably am. So
yeah, I love that. That's amazing. I want to touch on a couple of these. I like that, Paul. This is great. We should be learning from all experience, whether good or bad. 100% agree. And then this is a great segue about failures. When you're high achievers like us, and any individual that's in here, you're going to fail, and you're going to fail hard sometimes, but that's the time that you're going to learn the greatest. So anybody that's listening,
that is when successful people learn. You know,
yeah.
Whilst I was successful on the outside for many years, I wasn't successful at all because I never learned that.
Oh, that fell from.
Hey, Stuart. Yeah, good point.
Yeah, that's a very, very, very good.
I mean, there's loads of examples, and the best thing of it is, I mean, I think it was on Gerald's stream earlier. They were talking about SIM swapping and threats on phones. Just so happened, I just watched a promo video on Tesla's Pi phone that he's bringing out. That's basically going to just disrupt and smash the whole market to bits. And I remember back in the day queuing up for my iPhone at the Apple store, how excited I was. But now we're all, you know, we get a new one and it's the same, but the camera's been moved. So yeah. I'm not really excited anymore. But his phone is a game changer, and that is going to disrupt the industry massively when it comes out. Well, we should be doing that in the cybersecurity industry, Jack, shouldn't we?
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll get there. Okay, so we've got like about 10, 12 minutes left. So before we wrap this up, I want us to take a few minutes, and I want you to talk about Info-sec.live, because we're talking about goals. I want you to talk about what are the goals for the ISL community. Let's talk about the 5-hour live stream that we have going on January 21st. So go for it. Tell us, what is it? What is Info-sec.live for anybody that doesn't know what it is? Give us a brief overview.
Well, that's a brilliant question, because I suppose all it is really is a community, but it's changed a lot from the start. And it was something that I dreamed up one afternoon back in June. My mum was very unwell, thought I was losing her. And rather than start drinking again, which is what I would have done a few years ago, I locked myself away in the office here and got a bit carried away with the laptop. Came across a website or a network that I'd been paying for $100 a month, which I'd built for my wife to help her with video marketing. I'd also spent the last 3 or 4 months speaking to loads of people in cyber, lots of them needing help with soft skills, lots of technical ability out there, but no real ability to communicate it to the C-suite. So I'd seen a lot of people needing help with that. I'd also seen and met people who need help with resources. Stuart's another one who was looking at the GRC side. He inspired me a little bit to put some ISO kind of templates up on there. So one afternoon, I found the domain name Info-sec.live, paid £20 on Companies House to register the name, and set it up literally as a free resource for people. What I wasn't expecting is for it to go absolutely crazy and grow like it has. So it's been a real suck it and see for the last 6 months, where we've provided lots of different content, from capture the flag type challenges to I've got a whole raft of mini courses on there. We've got Richard Blakemore's done a Zero to Cyber Pro course, which is amazing. Again, that's free. My Upwork hacking course is free. Goal setting course is free. We've got loads and loads of resources. But what it's become is by far the most engaged community in cybersecurity. And people like all the people in the chat who I called out earlier, it's just become a family of people helping each other. And the aim of it has become, I need to earn money from it in some way. And my fear has always been that I've built up trust of 2,000 people we've now got in the community, bar I think about 20. The thing that stopped me from selling out is I felt like I'd be turning the trust that I'd built up with these people and turning them into a barrel full of vulnerable fish, because the industry's, like I said earlier, it's got enough problems as it is anyway without me adding to it. So my long-term aims for the community, well, short-term aim is I'm looking for sponsorship. I'm looking for companies to come and get involved, training partners to help support and grow the community. With that, they get access to 2,000 people who are their target market, of course. But equally long term, I think there's a place, and I'm working with few people in the chat and a few other people within the community for this verified panel is the long view, where we can create an independent peer-reviewed panel where we can then grade and help people make decisions on career choices through helping them find coaches and mentors, to the right certificates, to the right pathways, to all the way through to then being the hub for non-cyber firms to go to for a reliable cyber firm. Yes, and a couple of OSINT challenges, which was finding the church near my house, Keith. I know, I'll find some new ones. It's basically become a place where you can come and ask a question, and it's not a stupid question. And it's the power of the community. It isn't anything I've done. All I've done is been the kind of hub in the middle, but the community has done everything. Everyone's pulled in with resources, and it's blown you away. And don't get me wrong, people have come in and out because life happens. And the beautiful thing is people come in and out and back in again. You know, people are coming back who've had changes in their lives. And I honestly think we're growing something special. The main thing is it remains free for everyone who uses it. So the only way we can keep it free is by monetizing other aspects. So hence the increase of live events that we're putting on. Whilst this one isn't monetized, we'll be looking for more sponsorship opportunities in the future for that. But it's all about breaking down the barriers to entry in cybersecurity, because not everyone can afford to waste the money I did on that OSCP exam to realize that was the wrong route for me. And I think if I'd have had some more guidance and some clarity, I'd have been in a better place. So that's the long-term vision. How we get there, Jax, I've got no idea, but it's going to be about working with people already in the industry, because I've said it 100 times. We don't need anything new. I'm not saying I'm bringing anything new to the table. What we do need is to bring everyone together in the industry and kind of work towards a common goal, rather than always being to try to get one over on each other, which seems to be what's happening at the moment.
Yeah, it can be, depending on your circle. I want to touch
I just mean globally, politically, you know, in every way. Really.
Oh, yeah, we'll talk politics. Yeah.
If not,
so January 21st, we've got a pretty big event. You and I are going to be co-hosting. I'm co-hosting with you. I'm pretty excited about it. Cybersecurity Career Day, 22 days, 1 hour, 5 minutes, and 54 seconds. So talk a little bit about this. Like, do we have any open slots? What does it look like right now? I know we talking about getting a sponsorship. If you want to share a little bit more about this information that you've got going on.
Yeah, thanks, Jax. It's again, it's one of those, find out what the market wants and react to it. So I've met lots of amazing people in this community, all who've got different skill sets, and it seemed like a great opportunity to bring some people together to help those for the same aim of helping people break in. And again, a community effort. Mark DeRick has provided the platform. He even went and bought the domain Info-sec events for us as well, so that we've got somewhere to host it. And then you and I obviously spoke and decided to co-host, which is awesome, because again, the biggest thing I've learned over the last few years is I was convinced, by the way, a few years back that I was an entrepreneurial genius. Just so you all know, I'm aware I'm not now. And I am a personality salesman, and I know my limits. So it's about working together with other people. And I'm just trying to bring people together. And I think the event will do that nicely. It's free for people to attend. We are looking for sponsors, a main sponsor for the event. I won't give you all the information here, but there is a slide deck available that we can ping through afterwards. And it's a great way for you to give back and try and help those breaking into the community as well.
Yeah, and the time zone, because I actually had to put this in a time zone converter. So everybody here in the United States, Eastern Standard Time will be starting at 11 a.m. It'll be running for 5 hours live stream. European UK time will be 4 p.m. And
we didn't mention speakers, did we? So yes, we have got slots, haven't we, Jax?
Yes,
we have got slots. So
yeah, we've got a couple of slots left. I think
you
said 15-minute slots really right now. And we could flex that if somebody really had a specific topic that they
Well, again, if there's no reason why we can't extend the time of the event out either. So if there are more people who are interested in coming along to speak, we've got a real diverse pool of talent at the moment, but we'd love to add to that, because again, it's the whole thing about breaking into this industry. You need to learn from people who've done it already and learn from others' mistakes. And the only way you're going to do that is by listening to people.
Now, if anybody signed up early for the event, do they need to re-sign up? Are they good?
That's a good question, Keith. It depends how you signed up, because Simple Simon here posted an event on LinkedIn that didn't need signing up for externally first, and then quickly pulled that rug away from everyone and posted another one. So if you did the first one, then yes, but drop me a message and I'll make sure you're registered personally.
I love this. This is awesome. So, what is the best way if anybody wants to be able to reach out to you, Simon, and contact you either about what you're doing, either for mentorship, for ISL, or to become a speaker for the January 21st event?
Yeah, easiest way is if you're on LinkedIn, send me a message on there, or join the community, Info-sec.live, send me a direct message there, or you can send me an email to simon@info-sec.live as well. Be great.
I love that. That's great. Any last minute questions before we wrap up? I'm going to go ahead and ask you one more question before we do a final wrap up. But if there was one thing that you could do differently in your life, would you, and what would it be? I love this question.
It's a horrible question because
Yeah,
if I'd said yes to that, I wouldn't be who I am today.
exactly.
But there are so many things I would change if I could. Yes, but I'm not going to tell you what they are. But the problem is I've made a lot of mistakes. You know,
Yep.
I got into trouble as a youngster. I hung around with the wrong crowd. You can blame it on other people. I was the wrong crowd. You know, I say that all the time. You ended up with the wrong crowd. Someone's got to be the wrong crowd. It can't always be the other people. So you've got to take ownership for that. And the biggest bit of advice I could give is to take ownership.
Mm-hmm.
And not to blame other people for your failures. And it's all about knowing you can achieve, because you can achieve whatever you want. You've just got to get this right. And it took me 45 years. But again, if anyone's struggling with that, I am happy to give up 15-20 minutes of my time for one-to-ones to try and help people as well.
Oh, you guys heard it there. Reach out to Simon Linstead, connect with him. If you haven't done so already, I already dropped the links in there. Go ahead, become part of the community. I'm on ISL. I'm trying to get in there as often as possible. You have an app on your phone. It makes it really easy to be able to.
Can I just say something quickly, like a Columbo moment for anyone old enough to remember that series? Jax, now you're a co-host in the community as well. We do have the functionality for you to put up sporadic live streams right inside the Info-sec Live community. So that might be
I love that. Thank you. I love that. Awesome. All right. Well, that concludes the live stream. We are logging off. Thank you again, everybody, for coming in and being with us live. We'll probably do one more right before the January 21st event. So you all have a wonderful day and Happy New Year's, and Happy New Year, Simon.
Happy New Year. Thanks so much for having me on, and thanks for watching, everyone.
Bye.